Welcome to Pixels and Priorities, a podcast at the intersection of product and design. I'm Metsy Rose, product manager and strategist, joined by my co-host Jay Schuh, design strategist, educator, and creative mind. Each episode, we explore how designers, builders, and product leaders navigate constant change, create meaningful products, and grow their careers. Today, let's chat about why we decided to create the Pixels and Priorities podcast. So, when you and I first met, we recognized pretty quickly that you and we have the same goal, me in product, you in design. The goal of both of our worlds is just to create great products. And those two groups, product and design, collaborate really closely in some organizations and not so much in other organizations. You and I spent many lunches exploring the changes coming for the world of building great products over a strawberries Romanoff at La Madeleine.
Yeah.
And every few years, our industry seems to want to reinvent itself. Mobile, then cloud, now AI. So, how do you stay grounded when everything keeps changing?
Well, again, thanks, Metsy, for the great intro. I think when we were having those lunches, we kept talking about the state of the industry and how things are changing so rapidly that it's really hard to keep up. We know that there's a lot of great podcasts out there in which people are telling you the top three things or the top five things or the top 10 things. And those are fantastic for people that love those podcasts. We want those podcasters to support that audience. I think you and I have a different approach in this podcast is we just kind of want to take a look at how things are practically done between product and design, how things are really rapidly changing in the environments that we're working in. Think about how this is having ripple effects with our other stakeholders, including research, like UX research and also dev. They're our partners as well. While we're primarily, I think, going to be focused on product and design topics related to what's going on, we do want to recognize that great products aren't possible without having great research and great developers that can bring these ideas to fruition. So, this podcast is really, again, just having a conversation about, are you feeling what I'm feeling? Are you thinking what I'm thinking? And then, as we talked about, I think it's not just going to be us. We've had the great opportunity to get to know some amazing thought leaders out there and authors and other folks. And we want to bring them into this conversation so we can get their points of view as well.
Absolutely. I'm excited to not only have you and I having conversations about obviously very practical advice, but also the nuances of what this is doing to us as technology professionals or product professionals, design professionals. The amount and rate of acceleration of change is also going to impact like how we function in these roles, not just this task I'm doing from day to day. So having those real world conversations I think is super helpful for us as individuals, as humans in these roles, and being able to get through to the other side with better careers and also be in a good place as a human through that change, because change can be quite difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're in the tech industry right now, leadership is the obvious hot button right now as we're starting this podcast in 2026. AI is at the forefront of everybody's mind. So, of course, we're going to delve into that, talk about what it means, understand it from different people's points of view, and also, to your point, recognize that as humans, quite honestly, it's a lot to take in. We weren't meant as humans to sit in front of a screen for 8 hours and have the high cognitive load that is being put on us in enterprise situations right now. We're just physiologically we were never intended to have that much concentration of brain power on a consistent regular basis where it's just meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting. And sometimes we get to eat lunch. We were kind of lucky in the place that we were at that we actually did get lunch breaks enough for us to actually walk across the street and have lunch and have great conversations. But not every organization has that kind of mentality or luxury. And we're being told, I think, and I've heard this from many people, that how can we get faster? How can we be more productive? How can we test better, make better decisions? All those things are coming into play, and it is expanding and evolving the roles of product and design in ways that I don't think anybody really knows for sure what our roles are going to look like in 3 to 5 years. Things are moving so quickly. There are so many variables at play that we know that there's probably going to be this merging of the roles of product and design. But what exactly does that look like? I don't think people know for sure.
I agree. And as you were talking, I was thinking the very same thing. We are already starting to see the lines between design and product blur. Luckily, I have a UX research background, so being a product manager with UX experience has been extremely helpful because I'm already starting to see those conversations where either there aren't enough UX resources for me to tap into, or an expectation that I will now add that to my set of skills that I'm bringing every day. And I'm sure the same thing is happening for design. Design, I'm so grateful, is often very product minded. And
Yep.
it's already a beautiful mindset created there. But I'm sure from your perspective, you're also being asked more and more to be thinking from the product viewpoint, either to serve as a version of a product person or to
Mm-hmm.
support your product organization.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not the only one. From conversations that I have with some of my friends and associates in the field, I think we're being asked more and more to come from it from a this product minded perspective, basically saying, hey, listen, how can we move the needle? How can we increase conversions or engagement with the apps and the products that we're creating? And from a UX point of view, it's an interesting line to walk because, from a purist perspective, UX professionals should be advocates for the users, the end users that we're serving. We're supposed to be their voice in the room, right? Product, by definition, has a business outcomes perspective. Dev is supposed to take the ideas that come from design and product and insert their own creativity in how to execute, right? On a dev
Mhm.
perspective, having that line of, hey, how can we meet their needs and meet the needs of the users? I think it's really easy to just switch to having just a business based needs approach, especially with the pressure we're getting. However, I believe that when you really take care of the user in a compelling way and meet their needs and their pain points, the money will follow, right? So the better you do that, the more you're going to distinguish yourself as an organization, and your product is going to rise to the top because you're meeting those needs. You're helping alleviate those pain points better than the competition. And I think that's at the root of why, like you said earlier, we have different roles, but we have the same goal. We want to make people happy. We want our organizations to be profitable, right? That's how we stay working. And it's also like, how can we use some of the new tools that we're being asked to learn on the fly really rapidly and help generate those outcomes that we're being asked to do?
And it's difficult to, each of these roles is already a difficult role from the perspective of what I call like a context switch, is the amount of context switching per day that we're doing from deep in the details, looking at a pixel or digging through a specific story on a Jira board, all the way up to, okay, now let me zoom back out and let me look at this larger problem and a larger understanding of how the user is coming into a flow of work that they're trying to get done. So that constant zooming in and zooming out is already a cognitive load that both design and product are dealing with. And I think that pressure is going to increase as the number of tools are added to the layers of things that we need to learn quickly and implement quickly. And I think that's why I'm so grateful that we've already been having some episodes recorded talking about the human side of this, because not only do we need to do the job well, we need to do it in a way that we can fully participate and not get overwhelmed and not burn out. So I'm glad we've already added that to some of the episodes we've recorded and are planned to record. And then, like advocacy, like both product and design are roles that are expected to advocate to other organizations internally, whether it's to business stakeholders up to leadership about the resources needed and the importance of acting on a particular set of recommendations or not, or do we stick with this roadmap, or is this thing going to hijack our current priorities and we need to switch? So there's so much overlap between product and design that I think is really going to enable us to have some interesting and real world and how are we all going to survive this type of conversations.
Yeah, there really is a paradigm shift that's happening right now. You hear these stories of where some leaders are telling, and whether it's urban legend or myth, I guess we'll find out. I've heard the stories of where some leaders are going, how quickly can I just get rid of all my people and just have AI do everything? And as humans, I guess we just want silver bullets, right? We want the thing where I just want to look super fit and not have to go to the gym. Or I want to look super fit and not have to watch what I'm eating. We just want those silver bullets that avoid all the pain and give us maximum results. And if I'm looking at my life experience, that's not how it works. The best stuff takes time and effort. And I've often heard that in life, the hardest things to do are the most valuable things to do. Relationships, for example, are not easy. Relationships are challenging, and they are often the best things that someone has in a good quality of life is the relationships that you build. Good art, good design, good products, they take time. People can tell if people really haven't taken the time to look at a product and evaluate it super quickly and say, is this product going to meet my needs for the expectations and the mental model I have regarding how it's going to work? I say this all the time. I'll probably repeat it in future episodes. But if you go and download an app and it doesn't meet your expectations, the default behavior is just to delete it. You don't want to even give it space on your phone. And I say our job as UX professionals is to make people not want to delete that app, to actually get in the app, engage with the app or product, and have it be really useful. Ideally, it's something that people love, that they really want to interact with and don't feel forced to interact with. So that's the challenge that we have moving forward.
I'm so interested to see how the changes are going to actually function and how many of the assumptions of leadership on how AI is going to change these roles are reality. We've already seen some organizations replacing an entire like product dev design team with a single product manager who does all the roles with a set of tools. And so you've got that extreme, all the way to the extreme of organizations who are not yet dealing with any of what feels like this tide of changes that's coming. So for those listening, like each of you is in an organization that is at some part, they're on some part of the scale of how they're dealing with the change. Are they anticipating the change? Are they bracing for the change? Have they already started acting and you're seeing the changes hit your daily roles? So I'll be excited to also hear from you, like for all of us to be able to have conversations and build a community around supporting each other as we learn and as we start to integrate the changes while still making sure that as an individual, we're in a good place, our individual skills are increasing, and we are not letting the change burn us out, which I think is going to point us right back to something that you excel at, which is building a network and a strong community of like-minded professionals. And something that I'm a head down in the sand, like at times overworking type of introvert. And
Yeah.
so I love that you've helped me grow in the area of building a community. And it's one of the things I'm excited about for this podcast is not just us speaking at, but like to being able to get to know people and have these conversations. How is this working in your organization? What are you dealing with? What have you learned that you can bring to a community? So I'm very excited that we've chosen a format that is more real world conversations, candid conversations, especially with some of the industry leaders we have already recorded episodes with and many to come, so that we can better explore. And what you and I were saying earlier, pull up a chair and join the conversation. So I'm excited for us to build this community.
Yeah, I think that's the reason we said that there are those great podcasts where they give you the kind of strategic or tactical tips and tricks. And those are really valuable to a lot of people. We call them kind of candy, right? Candy is easy to consume and people love candy. I think where we're trying to approach this is from a really deep conversation level. And we're hoping that you, as the listener, some of the things that we're saying are going to resonate with your current experience. And you will participate. You are going to react back to us, give us your points of view, your thoughts, and even hopefully maybe raise that innovation side of your brain to say, wow, I never thought of it like that. That is something cool that maybe I can apply in my organization or in the way I'm doing things as we talk to these amazing leaders that we know and will invite to the podcast, that you get information that way through candid conversations and explorations of just the world around us. That really was, I think, the reason we wanted to get together and start this podcast, is because it's important during these times of change that we have some really practical conversation and pragmatic conversations around how do we deal with all the change. The AI thing in particular, it seems like every time I turn around, there's 5 or 10 new AIs that I wasn't aware of that I now have to look into. We're already working a lot of hours. You come home and go, geez, what do I want to do? Oh, yeah, I want to spend the rest of my evening learning about AI. So it's a challenge as humans. I mean, I teach as well. I've been teaching for over 25 years at the college level. And I do know the limits of the human mind and our capacity to pay attention and listen. And that's only going down with kind of the TikTok, Instagram culture that we're living in, and the doom scrolling that even I get pulled into from time to time. Having to manage our own minds is becoming increasingly more challenging as the distractions in our life get more and more. So these are just a few of the topics that I think you and I are going to talk about as we move forward in future episodes. And like I said, to your point earlier, we really want to hear from you as the listeners as we do our shows in the future. We want to hear what you think. What are your thoughts? What are you experiencing out there in the world, so that way you can through your comments, help provide some future topics for shows.
I don't often have to go into the office, at least right now, but when I do, it's an hour and a half commute. So I really wanted to create something that I would enjoy listening to on a long commute. We've talked a lot about the fast pace of change and fast moving industry shifts. And I'm hoping that this will bring, obviously, we will be bringing practical advice and practical thoughts and real world stories, but also a moment to indulge curiosity. And I think that's valuable to continue to innovate is looking up from the rush, looking up from the deadline looming, looking up from the 15 articles you saw today about AI you must learn, and to be able to indulge in some curiosity and have conversations so that we can all get to the finish line together.
That's exactly it. And I think if you're wanting to know if this is a podcast for you, I think this is going to be some candid, potentially longer conversations about the things that are going on in the world around us. And that's kind of why we came up with the name Pixels and Priorities, is because it's a digital world we're living in. And not only are we being compelled by leadership and our organizations to understand what our priorities are, but also take into consideration your personal priorities and your priorities for life. That's also, I think, at some point we'll probably be talking about life balance and perfectionism, imposter syndrome, all the things that, regardless of your role in this tech-filled digital world we're living in, these issues are going to affect you. Even if you happen to not be a PM or a designer, that maybe you still will tune in and see what your thoughts are, at least from our perspective. And like we already said, engage with us as part of our community.
So, welcome to the podcast. Pull up a chair and join the conversation.
Thanks for listening to Pixels and Priorities. Follow and subscribe for more conversations at the intersection of product and design. See you next time.